if you ask me what some keys to healthy living in midlife are, there is a 100% chance that I'm going to say drink more water and make sure you're hydrated. And there's probably like a 99% chance that that's what you thought I might say, along with being active and eating healthy and being around other people and not isolating and mindset. Oh my goodness. We can't skip hydration though. And the problem is, what I'm learning is that a lot of times we're trying to hydrate, but we're not doing it in quite the right way with quite the right water, believe it or not. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Mind Your Midlife, your go-to resource for confidence and success, one thought at a time. Unlike most advice out there, we believe that simply telling you to believe in yourself or change your habits isn't enough to wake up excited about life or feel truly confident in your body. Each week, you'll gain actionable strategies and, oh my goodness, powerful insights to stop feeling stuck and start loving your midlife. This is the Mind Your Midlife podcast. I used to drink diet soda all the time. And when I finally stopped saying, let me have my one vice, I know it's not good for me, but I don't do all these other things. When I finally stopped saying that, I switched to green tea and fizz, if you know, you know. And then I discovered lemon water, and I started to feel better in a lot of ways. I started to understand the power of hydration. It makes such a difference in our bodies. I felt better. And part of that, I think, was starting to believe that I could feel better. So we're going to be talking some very practical advice today. And I want you to keep in mind, since this is Mind Your Midlife, that it's also about believing that you deserve the best care that you can give yourself. You deserve the best hydration. You deserve to eat healthy, nutritious foods. You deserve for your body to be still amazing and strong no matter what age you are. That belief will bring you through all of this information, and you'll be able to start gradually, as Kristen's going to tell you, and do the things that will make a difference. So let's talk about whether we're doing them right now that we have that belief, right? So why did I have to always get up and go to the bathroom? Was I really having the right things? Was I actually hydrated enough? Why do I still have dry skin? I don't know. But my guest, Kristen Coffield, knows. She is the founder of The Culinary Cure and Active Grandparenting. And Kristen is here to help us with what really her mission is, and that is to be well and healthy and energized no matter what our age. And I love that. So let's dive in. Well, let's just start with how you ended up working with women, especially midlife women, on living healthy and active lives.
My favorite topic. And it's interesting because we use the word midlife very freely. And because we're all living longer, midlife is really well into our 60s.
Yeah.
And even into our 70s. So one of the things that's always interested me is how we can use food to effectively biohack our health and wellness, our food, our habits, our hydration, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we get these habits locked and loaded to support us with our biggest goals for how we want to look, how we want to feel, the kind of energy we want to have, it actually adds more active years to our lives. And I think everybody is interested in that.
Yes. And we're going to talk about hydration today, but your active grandparenting that you are helping so many people with, I think is just fantastic. Fantastic. Because I have a mom who was a really active grandparent for my kids when they were younger, and it was amazing. So I certainly want to be able to do that as well. Yeah.
And there's a couple of interesting things here. So I'm a boomer. But the top of Gen X also falls into this category of grandparents. Our kids are getting married later and they're having kids later, which means our grandparenting years are getting pushed back later. So there's even more reason for women, whether you're a grandparent now or you're just an active ager, there are more reasons than ever to want to add more active years to your life and to look at your 70s as a potential active decade for you. And, in Europe, if you go hiking, I remember being in college and I did a lot of walking. So I was living with a family outside of Florence and I would walk into Florence. Like it might take me 2 hours, but I would walk in and take the bus back and I'd walk through these little towns and I would see these hikers that were easily in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, walking along a lot of the vineyard trails and other areas. Those Germans who are hiking in the Alps in their 90s. No reason this can't be a reality for all of us. So
Amazing.
the thing is, we don't stop walking because we get old. We get old because we stop walking.
Well, there's a mic drop. Thank you for that. So, so, so true. And this is why I force myself to exercise regularly, even though I'm not a super exercise lover. Absolutely could not agree with you more. Now, this kind of relates to what you just said, because if we're walking and we're being active and we're not hydrating, I think we do have a problem. So let's talk hydration. We all know that we're supposed to drink water or whatever. We know we're supposed to be hydrated, but I'm not sure we really know what that means. So tell us more about what being well hydrated really is.
Well, first of all, there's so many misconceptions about what hydration is. And trust me, it is not just drinking more water. The second thing is most of us were never taught to hydrate properly. We didn't really need to learn how to hydrate properly when we were kids because there weren't the millions and millions and millions of beverages being marketed to us daily. We could drink water, we could drink juice, and juice glasses looked like shot glasses.
Right.
We might drink milk, but there wasn't a lot of soda, bottled water. There was sports drinks. We didn't have that. So the need to create a hydration practice is truly a modern concern.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause there for a second and say this is a question I've asked myself because we didn't walk around with water bottles when we were kids. We might have had a sip from the water fountain if we had a dry mouth, but I have wondered, why is it so different? So thank you for addressing that.
Oh, and we're just scratching the surface. So let's just talk about our homes. First of all, we didn't have, maybe your family had a TV, but we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. All of these things that put out electromagnetic energy in our homes are dehydrating. We were eating food. Now, I'm 66 and I've seen, there were a lot of things like Shake-a-Pudding and Jello 1, 2, 3 and instant breakfast. All that stuff started to happen. Red dye number 3 was out there. But we have grown up in the chemical revolution, and there's more chemicals that we're being exposed to than ever before in human existence. So what that means for us as women, first of all, we want to control the chemicals to the best of our ability. And I'm talking everything from, ladies, your deodorant. You know what? You could rub a half a lemon under your arms and it would be as effective and 1,000 times safer than most deodorants, which contain all kinds of things that you're putting right in those lymph glands under your arms, right by your breasts. Okay. So you want to think about this really, really carefully. So we want to control the toxins in our environment. And that means things like open your windows in the morning, let some fresh air in. There's a little more oxygen in the air in the early part of the day. So let all those exhales out. Okay. So that's going to bring little fresh air into your house. Do it before you go to bed, before you, right after you wake up in the morning. And indoor air pollution is a bigger problem than outdoor air pollution. Most people don't realize this, but during COVID, everybody really stepped up chemical use in their homes. All those chemicals outgas into your air and become toxins that are in our home environment. So we've got that problem. Then we've got the water problem itself. Our water's processed. It's been through the municipal processing plant. It's been treated with chemicals so that we don't get some sort of waterborne disease. And basically the water that comes out of our tap that we then filter, and you should filter it, doesn't have any of the minerals, the salts, and the elements that should be in the water mammals drink. So we're designed to drink water that contains potassium, magnesium, chloride, all bromide, all these things that would be in water that's flowing over rocks and getting all those minerals. So we're not getting the minerals and the salts that help the water we drink get into our cells.
Wow.
So our water is a problem. Bottled water is a problem because it contains microplastics. We are at the tip of the iceberg about what the heck are microplastics and why should we be concerned? And every time the human body is forced to process things it was never designed to encounter, it creates low-level inflammation. And low-level IgG inflammation is linked to every disease you never want to have. Neurological design, cancer, diabetes, heart, you name it. You don't want it.
Right.
So back to, okay, we know we're not getting enough water to hydrate because the average person drinks 2.5 cups of water a day.
Really? Even carrying around our big bottles?
Well, and if that water's not getting into your cells, maybe you're going to the bathroom a lot more. So there's really a way to hydrate properly in today's world. This is a modern problem. I created a 14-day hydration training that people can go to my website at The Culinary Cure and download it. Why 14 days? Because it takes 14 days to become fully and properly hydrated. And, I could talk all day about this, but, gulping a lot of water doesn't help you hydrate. This is boosting your water with things like electrolytes, herbal teas, citrus to help that water get into your cells. Once that water gets into your cells, it's going to help all of your major organs function more properly, including your brain. Your blood is 99% water. So now your blood is going to be able to detoxify better. And you can see how this all connects with helping our bodies function better in this chemical overload that they find themselves in. As women, here's something really interesting, and it goes back to those lymph glands. So when we wake up in the morning, so many of us go into the kitchen and have a cup of coffee or tea.
Right.
First thing, that's not the way that you can really optimize your caffeine or help your body rehydrate after the fast that occurs during sleep. So when you're asleep, your body's in fast mode. All of your major organs are fasting so that they can go through their major metabolic detox. So think of it like this. It's like the oil in your car. After a while, you've got to change the oil because the oil gets junked up. Well, all your major organs keep you functioning all day long, and the byproduct from that is metabolic waste. And when you're sleeping and those organs detoxify, all that metabolic waste ends up in your lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is the trash can of the body. It's located between your muscles and your skin, and the lymphatic system can't really take out the trash without your help. So there's a couple of things that help the lymphatic system help your body detox: movement
Yes.
and hydration.
Fascinating. So yes, I wanted to get into the benefits and I want to talk about this for a minute because we know that we are a huge percent water. We know it's good for our skin. We know it's good for our blood flow, but this I had not heard. And I used to have a lot of problems with particularly one side of my body, but with swelling and bloating. And it was because of lymph issues. And I have figured out that staying hydrated helps that for sure, but I never put all of this together. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So for me personally, in my 50s, I went through I had a really awful decade. Everything that could go wrong felt like it did go wrong. My mom's cancer came back. My dad, who we were all estranged from, started acting strangely. It turned out to be Alzheimer's. My husband was in a difficult partnership and it put a huge financial strain on our family and on our marriage. Our last child left for college. And so this happened over like a decade. And like so many women, I was keeping all the balls in the air, right? You know, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're maxing out a credit card here and paying it off later. You know, you're being creative with how you pay tuitions and mortgages. And my big world, and I was always that girl. I was always like, oh, ask Kristen. She'll know. Ask Kristen. She knows all this. Well, you know, this big world that I had became smaller and smaller and smaller because I am trying to handle all of these stressors. Now, at the same time, I'm in my 50s and I'm going through all kinds of hormone changes. Mm-hmm. So it's like this perfect storm. And many women go through this in their late 40s and 50s where it's just like, you wake up every day and you're like, what else is going to go wrong? You know, and it got so bad for me. I realize now I was clearly depressed and I went from doctor to doctor and I would describe my symptoms and they would say, you know, maybe you need a sleep aid or a beta blocker or an anti-anxiety medication. But then they'd look at my blood work and I've been, you know, in the health and wellness space for a long time. They're like, oh my God, your blood is amazing. I mean, I wish I had your blood. Well, here's the deal. I had an underactive thyroid. So all that stress was like shooting heroin through my, you know, like it was like cortisol going through my thyroid like heroin. So I'm living in this high stress, high anxiety space. I finally get diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Little tiny itty bitty speck. Best thing that ever happened. They took out my thyroid and the doctor says, yeah, Kristen, it's the craziest thing. I mean, I take out thyroids every day. Your thyroid looked like a prune. It was all shriveled up.
Wow.
It was clearly not working, yet a dozen doctors only looked at my blood work and told me I was just fine. So that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be the only woman that found herself like upstream without a paddle in her 50s and had to reboot her life.
Yes.
And while that devastating tsunami-like decade of horrible things was happening, even though I was in the wellness space, I was drinking more coffee, opening a bottle of wine at 5 o'clock. I wasn't really getting to the gym as much. You know, I was dealing with I was internalizing a lot of things. So I wasn't socializing as much because the truth of the matter is, you know, when your life gets messy, people get tired of hearing about it. And when you have a decade of messy stuff, you know, your friends just are like, yeah, tired of hearing about this, you know. So it's tough.
I'm in my 50s and there is messy stuff, not as much as you're describing, knock on wood, you know, right at this moment anyway, but I know listeners are going to be identifying with this too because there's just messy stuff that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. These are real life struggles. So at this point, you know, I really double back on the wellness stuff. And, you know, I'm not sleeping anyway. I'm like, do I stay in my marriage? Do I leave my marriage? Like, how am I going to pay this $250,000 of debt? You know, like it was so bad. So I found a gym that opened at 5 a.m. I was like, I could lie here and ruminate, or I could just get up and
Mm.
go to the gym. So I start going to the gym. And at the same time, I'm doing a lot of research. Like, what is the one thing that I'm not doing that really could change me? And I'm thinking it's nutrition. And, I know food is powerful, but what I discover is that it's hydration.
Wow.
That hydration is this underutilized opportunity for women to really reclaim their wellness. And nobody's teaching us that we need to get the hydration part right first.
That's
And
true.
let's be clear, you can only live for 3 days without water. You can live for like 30 days without food. Water is an essential nutrient. It's a nutrient. That means your body can't make it. You have to get it from an external source. So now you look at where we are. You look at all these conditions of life that aren't supporting the life we want to live. You look at these environmental toxins. You look at what's happened. Our water is different. You look at our fruits and vegetables. We're monocropping, so they don't have the same nutritional value as the foods that we ate as children. So now we're all running around mineral deficient, and our water's mineral deficient. And so this hydration component, and I went so deep into it, and what I discovered was so profound. If we could just get people to focus on hydrating properly, not using the fancy electrolytes, nothing that comes in a little packet that's got a flavor. You just need plain old unflavored electrolytes, which you can buy from a company called Trace Minerals. They've got something called 40,000 volts. I share all this in my free 14-day hydration training. Or you can add a pinch of Himalayan sea salt from ancient sea salt. It has to be mined sea salt, formed before pollution, so it doesn't have those microplastics, but it does have all those minerals and salts and elements that are so beneficial to how our bodies and brains function.
Okay, well, you also just answered another question for me and for a listener here or there, I'm sure, because I've been told to use Himalayan sea salt, but I never knew why. So I guess that's why, although I maybe need to check the source, clearly.
Yeah, you want Himalayan sea salt that has been harvested preferably from the Kerala mines in India or Pakistan. So it's, of course, sea salt is a whole, like olive oil, like all of these things. You could go down the rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, what you want are the purest ingredients that you can get. And we're not talking spending a fortune here. You just need to do a little research. There's a company called Symphony Naturals that has something called Sol, S-O-L, and it's literally a lump of sea salt, and it comes with a jar, and you add water, and then you can put a little spoonful of the salt water into your beverages because you want to make sure that salt dissolves so you get the benefits. So Symphony Naturals, I don't have a link or anything, but you can find them. Some people like that Redmond's sea salt, the pink salt, but we're not talking the salt you're buying at Trader Joe's here.
Okay, good to know. And a side benefit of this conversation for sure, because that's what I was buying.
Yeah. So here's another thing about the salt, and this may answer another question. So when people hear me talk and they're all super excited, and then they want to ask all these questions, I say, get the 14-day hydration training because it's 14 days of knowledge. Like, I could tell you what to do. It's so much more effective when you get the information and you start to understand why you're doing what you do. We start to add these beneficial salts and minerals and elements. And once we stop gulping and start sipping, and everyone's like, how do I get to that 100 ounces? 8 to 10 big sips an hour will get you there. Your first beverage of the day is a nice big glass of lemon water with some, Himalayan sea salt or electrolytes in it. And then when we're sipping instead of gulping, and, that could be herbal tea too. You can sip herbal tea all day. What happens is you have to retrain your body that forgot how to hydrate. Your body had to adjust to what you were doing, right? So you weren't drinking enough. So your body like kind of dumbed down your sense of thirst so you wouldn't go crazy. Maybe you're having food cravings because your body doesn't know if it's thirsty or hungry. But once you start sipping and sipping consistently, your body starts to trust you again and your cells start to absorb the water as you're drinking it. It is normal to everybody listening to go to the bathroom 5 to 7 times a day. That's normal. You want to drink your water and be done before 5 o'clock. You never want an alcoholic beverage unless you've had all your water for the day. You don't start with 100 ounces. Everybody has the right amount to start with for them. It's half their body weight in ounces of water sipped throughout the day. And so, yes, you are going to feel the urge to go to the bathroom at first. And you know why? Because your urine is concentrated in your bladder because you're not drinking enough water. So then anything you sip is going to stimulate the urge to go. So we got to get you moved past that. We got to get you sipping, not gulping. We have to have you start hydrating first thing in the morning and then sipping throughout the day and being done with all your major liquids by 5 o'clock so it's not affecting your sleep.
So that's fantastic information. And I know I mentioned this to you, but my Pod Squad group on Facebook was throwing to me questions that I needed to ask you when I was going to record this. And that was Becky's question saying, I feel like I have to go to the bathroom all the time. What kind of adjustment period would there be from, I feel like I have to go to the bathroom all the time to your body kind of figuring it out? Is that the 14-day?
Well, the reason I say 14 days is, I'm not talking with each individual to know how they're hydrating. Maybe Becky gets up and has 2 cups of coffee before she does anything. Now there's acid, so anything you drink after that is, you're really going to feel it. Here's the coffee hack. I do want to share the coffee hack. So I said, most people really do love their ritual of their morning beverage, whatever it is. So if you drink a caffeinated beverage, the optimum time to enjoy it is 90 minutes after you wake up.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. First of all, you don't need caffeine to wash your face and brush your teeth and shower and make your bed and get dressed. Those are habits. They're on autopilot. And when you delay the enjoyment of that caffeinated beverage, now we love caffeinated beverages because they have nootropic benefits. That means it stimulates the brain in a kind of a positive way and helps us focus a little bit more and get excited about ideas and things. So when you wait 90 minutes, you're much more likely to be at the point in your day where you're going to do something that might require a little brain work. Maybe you're going to drive a car. Maybe you're going to answer some emails. Maybe you're going to an office. Maybe you're taking care of grandkids. You definitely want it right then, before you're with those grandkids. So and then you're less likely to drink a second caffeinated beverage later in the morning, where now you're getting into the half-life of caffeine, which has the potential to interrupt your sleep.
I love it. That's really smart. I could see, because if you wait 90 minutes, now you have your coffee or your tea or whatever, and maybe you enjoy that for a bit. Now it's much later in the morning, maybe, than what you're used to. I like it.
So to get back to the question, I would say for anyone who's listening and they're really excited because they're like, yeah, I want the fountain of youth, which is literally what water is. So if I was going to write a marketing sequence and I said, hey, listen, I have got this unbelievable product. I mean, this stuff is literally the fountain of youth. It improves the way your skin looks. It improves your muscle pliability. So exercising and movement become easier. It elevates your mood. Your sleep improves. Food cravings go away. You have more energy. I mean, this stuff is unbelievable. Do you want me to tell you more about how much it costs?
What is it?
Yeah. And then when you tell people it's hydration, it just doesn't seem sexy enough. They really want to drink something that's $7 and comes in a can, or they really want to buy a bougie supplement. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't get your hydration right first, you'll never know what else is working for you or not.
You know, it's fascinating because the other question I wanted to pass on to you from my group was from Sarah, who was basically asking, what is all the stuff about these supplements, the electrolytes, the collagen, all that stuff? Is it real or is it just a marketing ploy? Now, it sounds like you're saying marketing ploy, except maybe the electrolytes.
Well, and within the electrolytes, you need to find the ones that don't come with flavor and ingredients that are part of the marketing, right? I mean, when you buy a bottle of the, and I like the trace minerals. I have met with their medical director. They do have some flavored ones. Don't buy those. Just buy the plain old 40,000 volts. It's like $18 for a big bottle of electrolytes. That's going to last you a couple of months. And then you go and you see Liquid IV and Element and all this other stuff, and you're paying more for the packaging than the product. So to answer that question, yeah, I am not a big proponent of paying for marketing and packaging. I want to get the real stuff that humans are designed to eat. And a lot of that packaging, I don't know, what's it lined with, that little package? Am I getting microplastics? I don't want that. Here's the bottom line. When you buy something that's got 200 products in it, you don't know what works and what doesn't work for you.
That's a good point.
And you are being marketed to heavily. But you think that you are getting like magic when you get the stuff. The magic is hydration. Get hydrated. Eliminate the foods that create low-level inflammation. Become a label reader. Become a label reader. If you don't know what an ingredient is, do not buy the product. Eat the way your great-grandparents ate. If it wasn't around then, don't eat it now. I just really want people to understand that the magic in the bottle there isn't such a thing. The magic is coming out of your faucet, and you need to boost that water. And then approach your diet in a way to make what you're eating matter. You have to eat like an adult. You have to eat like your great-grandparents. Seasonal, local, more vegetables, more seeds, more nuts, more fungi, less food with labels.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far down this path because we are focused on hydration today, but I appreciate you saying that because I actually do have some vitamin supplements I like, but I did a ton of research on that to figure out whether I would trust it. And if I ate more vegetables, that would probably be better, Yeah. So I fully agree with you 100%. And it was a novelty to me when we were initially talking to think that I could just take something unflavored and just put it in my water and it would make a whole change in how my body absorbed it. And I really want people to take that away because that is a big deal.
And just one more thing, because the collagen did get brought up. I am a big fan of bone broth, and bone broth counts towards your hydration. I work with women over 50, and many of them are not getting enough protein. So this is a problem. And we're not getting enough protein. It goes back to getting bad information as young women about cutting back on calories. And in doing so, we cut back on fat and protein. And we're not eating enough fruits and vegetables. So we're not getting all that fiber that we need for our gut. Fruits and vegetables are hydrating. So they do help you hydrate. And that is where we get the most important fiber for our health and wellness.
Right.
So I encourage everybody to eat the fruits and vegetables every day. Eat your fruits in the morning so your body can convert the fruit sugars into fuel, and then eat a lot of vegetables, in all of your meals. But bone broth is so interesting, and I do have a 1 ingredient bone broth protein powder that I combine with one of those bare bones packets of bone broth in a big glass mug. And the two of those combined, and there's no additives, it's all very clean. The two of those combined add up to 25 grams of protein. And I encourage people to do that between breakfast and lunch and between lunch and dinner. And this is a very bioavailable way for women to add an additional 50 grams of protein a day. I mean, we're supposed to be getting 30 to 35 grams of protein a meal. That's a lot. It is hard to eat that much protein. So this is a great, it fits in with the hydration, but it also supplies that protein. So you can be hydrating with a protein beverage, and it's doing double duty. And we love that.
Well, Kristen, we're going to have so much to take away from today. My goodness. I'm going to have to listen back a couple times. So I know there will be people who want to connect with you, want to learn more. So tell us, how can they do that?
The Culinary Cure is my website for recipes and the free hydration program, all my blog posts. There's so much on there. So I encourage you to go to theculinarycure.com and then follow me on Instagram, because I am posting daily motivation for active agers and active grandparents. My posts are color coded, and I'm taking everybody through a journey that starts with hydration and moves into nutrition. And I did it color coded so that I can send people back to watch those posts over and over again and get some of this information.
Nice. And so, yeah, that I do follow you on Instagram, and I have been enjoying that. So thank you for that. Absolutely. Now, to wrap up, tell us, people are maybe thinking, wow, that's a ton of information. I'm going to listen again. But what is just kind of the one most important thing that you want them to take away?
Yeah. Well, just start. Don't think you have to wait to start hydrating. I have people who are like, they get the hydration program. They're like, well, it's not really the right time to start. I'm like, what are you talking about? Hydration, you can only live for 3 days without water. You just start. Don't think it's like a big deal. Just start where you are. Do what you can and just do a little more each day, because I have people who've never bought a thing from me, but they have taken my free hydration training, and they reach out to me all the time and say, wow, I am so glad I did this, because I can feel and see the difference.
That's amazing. Thank you for joining me, Kristen.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
I'm not sure I could have chosen a better OMG moment. Just start. Just start. And if I may say again what Kristen said towards the beginning of this episode, you didn't stop walking because you got old. You got old because you stopped walking. And while I don't love to use the O word, and my friends know I like to say seasoned instead, that is a profound statement. So there's OMG moment number 2 for me today. Now, you heard me ask some questions today from friends in my Pod Squad group on Facebook. I would love for you to come and join us. It's the Mind Your Midlife Pod Squad group. I will put a link in the show notes. Come on over. Pod Squad members get to help me figure out questions to ask guests, all kinds of cool stuff happening in there. So come join us. And make sure you've hit the follow button, because next week we're going to be talking about whether you fall into the trap of rejecting before getting rejected. And this could be related to people. It could be related to opportunities and ideas. Sometimes we just trash them so that we don't hear no. And let's figure out what we should do. In the meantime, oh my goodness, let's keep creating confidence and success, one thought at a time.